And one fateful Saturday, when she was traveling with my mother and my younger sister, I get a call, and a lady on the other side tells me that there has been an accident. You may look at a parenting course, a parenting coach, trying to learn how you parent your children when you have a mother wound that you have not looked at. I used to write Zola letters. Get Zola, come take me.
Dramatic.
I want to come work with you. Come take me.
Let me introduce to you the new kid on the block. Mel La Vie is a new skincare range that recently launched. It is for face and for body. We deal with hyperpigmentation, anti-aging, wrinkles, natural glow. We also deal with dark inner areas. We target dark inner thighs, dark armpits, dark neck, dark elbows, dark knees, you name it. We also have a shaving combo. This shaving combo deals with ingrowns and shaving bumps. Both men and women can use this good quality product shaving range. We've got good actives in our product from glycolic acid, hyaluronic acid, kojic acid, and many more. You can contact us on the WhatsApp number that is popping on the screen, or you can reach out to us on all our social media platforms. We are here for all your skin needs. Hi everyone, this is The Working Wife, The Working Woman Podcast, and I'm your host, Promise Magunyane. This podcast is really about women working, women inspiring each other to work in and out of marriages. Happy New Year. This is the first episode I'm shooting for The Working Wife in the new year, and it's going to be the first episode for 2025. Super excited about the year. I'm super excited about the year, and I hope everyone at home is just as excited as myself. So, as I've said, this particular podcast, guys, is really just about women inspiring each other to do it for themselves. I always say that it's good to have a man do stuff for you, but it's even much more better if you can also afford to do stuff for yourself. Guys, this is like 2025. There is no just a stay at home, nothing, zero. I don't care who you're married to, but zero. No spazanyana, no. So get up and do something for yourself. So this podcast just aims to inspire you to just do something for yourself. This particular podcast airs every Sunday at 6 p.m. and we have a sister podcast. Guys, pardon me. It's the new year. It's the first episode, so pardon me. So our sister podcast airs on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. So also check episodes. They're just all on the same channel. Anyway, I've been rambling. I've got a lady here that I'm sitting with. You are starting the year with me. You are the first person I'm interviewing on this podcast. How does that make you feel?
I feel honored. I feel honored that this breath of fresh air is what you get in the new year.
Okay. The tables that just turned very quickly.
Modest much?
Yeah. No, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate people's time more than anything. Because you could be doing anything at this point in time, making a lot of money, but you're here with us. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to tell people just your name? Because we're going to get into the icebreakers, but before that, I just want them to know your name and not where you're from, what you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my name is Khanyisa, the light bearer, the illuminator, and I am a philanthropy strategist and a legacy coach. Okay. And we'll go into what that means in a bit.
Later on. Yeah, we're going into the icebreakers now. Khanyisa.
Okay. All right.
I've got a few icebreakers. Yesterday you told me that you were nervous. I don't know why you're nervous, because she is actually she's actually a colleague in the streets of podcasting, a very new colleague. We'll talk about that as well.
Yeah.
Your first icebreaker is, in one word, explain your 2025 so far.
Sure.
In one.
My 2025 so far. Graceful.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your dream job as a child?
It's a funny one. My dream job as a child was to be a teacher.
Oh.
Because I just found beating children very fascinating. And here's why.
Is it in the beating? Oh, okay.
Here's what happened. So my grandmother used to have, where I grew up, used to have we can't call it a farm, like a home farm, chimu.
Yeah, chimu at the back of the house.
Yeah, and so her strategy was that when mafela are off and the leaves need to get off,
Yeah.
she would give me a stick, and I would beat those things off the whole field.
Yeah.
But I would be acting as a teacher.
Okay.
And I would be saying, these children are not listening. I'm going to beat you.
Oh,
And so
wow.
I thought that was what a teacher is about. And that's what I wanted to be.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah.
can see that. I can see that. If you teach a class on one thing,
Yeah.
one thing only, what would you teach and why?
I would teach a class on how to develop grit.
Greed.
Grit.
Grit.
The ability to just not give up.
Ah.
Because you don't choose what life gives you. You don't choose what may come your way after we are done with this episode. But the ability to not give up and stay in the game is what will differentiate you from the rest. So I would teach grit. Yeah.
We share the same sentiment. I, however, call it, I use resilience.
Yeah.
It's very
It's
important
exactly
to
what
be
it is.
resilient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two more.
Okay.
What is your proudest moment or your proudest achievement?
My proudest achievement, I think I would say, was being a mother. Yeah. I think I don't know if there's anything I've ever been proud of than being a good mother.
Oh,
Yeah.
we'll speak about that as well.
Yeah.
Message to your young self. That's the last icebreaker.
You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's my message to my young self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you worried about when you were a child? Or what were you thinking when you were young?
Will I impact the world enough? Will I make the right decisions that will get me to my destiny? There used to be this song by Zahara, the late, called Destiny,
Yes.
right? And I remember a line in that song that used to say, everything may be rushing on me and everything may be too slow for me, but I'll keep holding on because I know where I'm going. And I think it's because I used to worry a lot about whether I'm making the right decisions to take me to where I need to go. Yeah.
Wow.
So now it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I know that now. Yeah.
Anyway, you say your name is Khanyisa, but you're from Limpopo.
Yeah.
Are you Betty?
I'm born Betty,
Yeah.
and then my father took a lot of money from Zonga people.
Okay.
A lot of money.
Okay. Yeah.
So I am born Betty, but my husband is Zonga.
Does the name come from your husband's side?
No.
Okay.
It's actually a prophetic name that I got through a process, a spiritual process that I went through, and I assumed that name in every place around me, including in my ID. So I became Khanyisa. And I mean, it's a story that we probably would sit here the whole day if we spoke about.
Yeah.
But it was one of the things I needed to do to unhinge myself from a pattern, a generational pattern that was attached to a name I carried, an ancestral name that I carried for the rest of my life.
When did you change your name?
Earlier last year.
Huh.
Earlier last year. So actually, there will be people that watch this and think,
Khanyisa?
yeah. But it's so funny that anyone that I've met after that, it's a flow. My name is Khanyisa, and there's no question.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But mostly people know me as Flo. So my English name is Florence, and that's what I went with throughout school, and people affectionately call me Flo.
Okay.
But when I assumed Khanyisa, that was the order of the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Otinyaketse Lina la Bagadi because I'm like, maybe Fitli Bagadi are you?
Well, people should.
Yeah,
I
hey.
think- yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if that was what they thought I must be.
You know, you have to check nowadays because things happen now, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell us about your upbringing.
Okay. So I'm a firstborn daughter of my mom and my dad, both still alive. I've got two other siblings, and I was primarily raised by my grandparents because my mom and my dad were quite young when they had me, and they were still figuring out life. And so I would say I had a good childhood.
Is it?
Yeah, I had a very good childhood. I think my parents did all that they could. I lived with my dad, I think when I was about 10 years old.
Yeah.
It was just the two of us. This is actually, yeah, I stayed with my dad and it's just the two of us until my mom, because my mom was working far away and she was coming fortnight, every other week.
Yeah.
And so that, by the way, created a very strong bond between me and my dad. And by the time my mom came back, I was going into high school and then I went to boarding school.
Oh, wow.
And so I spent the rest of my teenagehood in boarding school.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went to tertiary. Yeah.
I would assume that being a firstborn daughter and on top of that, your mother being away,
Yeah.
you were like a parent. You were a parent
Yeah.
when you were still young. You were a parent to your siblings while you were still young.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Funny enough, when we have the conversation with other people, other firstborns around parentification, mine happened far later
Okay.
in my life.
Okay.
Right? It's there. Now I am a deputy mother to my sister and my brother.
Yeah.
But I haven't always been a deputy mother. I think the existence of my grandparents took that away from me.
Okay.
Whenever my mother had another child, my grandmother took over that and the other child as well. So
Okay.
I never had to be parentified at a young age. Where parentifying came for me was when I was much older and I'm now the one that's helping my siblings to figure out stuff, adult stuff. But really, as a young child, not really. But I grew up very independent.
Yeah.
Very, very, very independent. I mean, I think in retrospect, even now when I speak to therapists and stuff, we discovered that when I went to boarding school, it was also part of me because I took myself to boarding school. I applied and I said, this is where I'm going, right? And my mom had just come back a year earlier. And my therapist was saying, maybe your 3-year-old self now is seeing this woman for the first time. Because actually, I've never lived with my mother for more than a year, my whole life.
Oh.
And I think when I went to boarding school, I was probably trying to abandon her before she abandons me.
I see.
Yeah. So even there at boarding school, I'm this firstborn who's independent. And now over that layer, I am independent and responsible for my own well-being at school. Yeah.
And how's the relationship with your mother now?
We're okay. I think we sort of came back together when I had my daughter.
Mother to mother.
I think it was the first time I realized what it means to love someone who you call your child.
Yeah.
And you would give a liver for that person. And that was a reflection on her. And I started to understand her better to say, oh no, this person, when she said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what she really meant was this and that, because I now know how it feels to love another human being the way she loves me. So now we're fine, we're friends. Yeah.
Are you like friends, or you just saying holistically? Because as a black person, especially coming from Limpopo, I'm not friends with my mom, even though now I understand her more, that I'm a wife, that I'm a mom. Are you just saying you're friends, or you're really friends? Like my mom is like legit your best friend or your friend, or you just have a good relationship?
We have a good relationship. There are obviously boundaries.
Yeah.
But I think also because she had me quite young, we are not too far apart.
Yeah.
Generationally, I would say. Right? But also she's quite easygoing. But I also know that the contribution there is that I am quite strong-willed and independent, and because I've had to figure out a lot of things.
Yeah.
There are things that I will decide on my own, and she will look at me and think, I'll support it. Because I can see, this one is strong-willed. This is what she's going to do.
Yeah.
So there are pros and cons to that. But I would say we are good friends and good daughter and mother. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So you go to school, and then after school, do you go to varsity? Where do you go to varsity? What do you study?
So I go to school, and throughout my university, my high schooling, I am doing well. I am a top commerce student, but I know that I want to go into something that has to do with speaking, something that has to do with looking like Karabo Moroka on the corner office.
Okay.
You know, I always say that two of my role models were Zola 7 and Oprah Winfrey.
Zola.
Yeah.
You said that in your podcast
Yeah, I
as
said
well.
that. Yes. And here's the context.
Please give us. Before people, we're going to give you the channel. You're going to watch the full episode. Now we're just getting a bit.
So Zola was this guy in the early 2000s who was going around communities, reading people's letters and making their dreams come true in 3 days.
Yeah.
There was something about that work that he did that resonated with me. Not mostly the actual person, the work he did. I used to write Zola letters. Get Zola, come take me.
Dramatic.
I want to come work with you. Come take me.
At least you wanted to work. I would assume I would say I want to be your child.
No. but also, when I had a fight with my dad, I would tell him that, like, Zola's coming to take me.
I hope now he can say, where's
Zola
your father? Let's see your
coming
father
to
and me
take
now.
But I was attracted to that type of work.
Yeah.
And as I say in my podcast, that in retrospect,
Yeah.
I now understand why. And the why is that I now do what Zola does
Yeah.
on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I meet people who have needs and I meet people who have means, and I become a conduit for those. And so I think my spirit was attracted to his work. Yeah. So, and I don't think, because I lived with my father at the time, and I don't think my father understood, Wanu.
Yeah,
What?
like,
And I'm sure when the first time my father met my husband, I'm sure he was relieved. At least I had gangster.
yeah. Yes.
Because what was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but mostly it was the work that I was attracted to. Yeah.
And then you go to varsity.
I go to varsity knowing this picture that I have in my mind of what I want to do without having the knowledge and the ability to name it.
Yeah.
And I get these distinctions, and we get this top what, Limpopo what. And my parents sit me down and they say, so you want to study what?
Yeah.
And I say, no, public relations, or if this is that, right? From the knowledge the small knowledge that I had. And I remember them sitting me down and saying, you are going to do something that is going to sustain you. And once you are done, you'll follow that nonsense.
Yeah. After you are done using
Securing-
our money, with our money.
Yeah, my dad said,
Yes.
I'm not paying for that nonsense.
Yeah.
After you are done with what I'm willing to pay for, you'll pursue that. And so I went to pursue a degree in Become Accounting. And even throughout my varsity years,
Yeah.
I was never, and I think this affected me a lot, I was never the person that wanted to be a CA or wanted to be in the finance fraternity at all, right? When people were calling each other with their names and CASA at the end, I just was uninterested.
Yeah.
I just knew that whatever it is that I want to do had to do with changing people's lives and in a public platform. And yeah, that, but look, it was a blessing in disguise because I now have people that trust me with their money because of that qualification. So I went on and studied that cum laude in record time, and excuse me, cum laude in record time, and then I get into the world of work, and there are these opportunities in banks, in financial institutions that I turned down. I turned down because I still knew that this is not what I want to pursue.
Wow.
And by the grace of God, I come across this organization that was looking for interns and part-time people.
Yeah.
And this organization was running foundations and CSI projects on behalf of corporates.
Okay.
Right?
This is fresh from high school.
This is fresh from university, after my Become Accounting degree.
Okay.
Yeah. And I joined this organization, I think it was a 6 weeks contract, and I made sure that they keep me.
Yeah.
I did everything there was to do.
Yeah.
And that's where my career began.
Again, what did you do exactly as an intern?
So I was a grants officer. Right? Grants officer.
Yeah.
So that organization was giving out grants to NGOs and NPOs according to what their clients wanted to give into. So these are big banks, mines, etc. And the value of that experience was that when I landed there, I knew that this is exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But as an intern and a grants officer, I was then exposed to different kinds of strategies, like whether it's in education. So this funder would be funding education. That one will be giving money to homeless and destitute women and women that are, struggling with abusive homes. That one will be giving food security programs money, leadership, all of that. So I worked across all the UN sustainable goals as we know them now.
Okay.
And working with that, I got promoted. I was a CSI analyst from there. And then I was able to sort of specialize, right? I did youth empowerment, I did education, homeless and destitute as well. And that's where I really found my passion for who I want to be a voice for
Yeah.
in those days. Yeah, so I worked in corporate for those years, went on to head up communications for another organization
Yeah.
that was now in education. So I think at that time I found my niche that I want to commit my time to the cause of educating young people in South Africa.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I headed up communications for that organization. And one of the funny things is that I was still a finance graduate, right? Even when
Yeah.
that man that I would never forget, Dr. Murray Hofmeyer, gave me an appointment as the head of communications for his organization, and I didn't even have a communications degree. I went on to study an undergraduate strategic brand communications degree
To back up yourself.
to back up myself.
Yeah.
Because I thought to myself, okay, so I was never crazy. There's something here. And someone, when I walked into a boardroom of interviewers,
Yeah.
saw it and said, we get that you want this job that has to do with finance, but here's what I see.
Wow.
And that was an affirmation for me to start owning my power. And so I went on all out, and I did an undergrad degree in communications.
Wow.
And I headed up communications for that organization up until I left and I went into business. So I can safely say I am a multi-faculty graduate from the Faculty of Humanities
Yeah.
and the Faculty of Commerce and Economic Development. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So your story just tells us that life always knows, like it's time always knows.
Yeah.
Kore, you can say I'm this, but then like inner you knows, and it will always just direct you in the places where you actually truly have to be.
Yeah. And there's an inner voice.
Yeah.
The inner voice always knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. We never take time to listen to it. We've been taught to not trust it.
Yeah.
We have other things that are clouding it, but there's an inner voice that always knows.
Yeah. And you always know, like you will know.
You will know.
Anyway, so in the midst of you now working, moving from big, like doing big things within your industry, where do you now have a child?
Okay.
Is it years later or in between you being a career woman?
So I have a child in university. I fall pregnant 6-7 months into my first year. I'm serious.
Sure. And you still just went on to be this great person. I'm so glad. Yeah.
No, my academic record doesn't even show that there was something that happened in between. Because I think I was strong-willed and so on. But what I remember about that period is that I was really depressed. When I met the father of my daughter,
which is not your husband.
which is not my husband, no. When I met him, I didn't know if I'm going or coming. Because all of a sudden I was a BCom accounting student. And what I saw my life to be was running around cameras. And I mean, sometimes I remember the fact that in 2006 when Terry Petu and the others won the Grammy, was it a Grammy for Tsotsi?
Oh, yes.
I was excited. When they announced that the World Cup was coming to South Africa in 2004,
excited.
I was excited because for some reason I saw myself as part of that. And all of a sudden I'm in this institution and I am a BCom accounting graduate and people are counting numbers and I can't relate. Right? And so that's one thing.
Yeah.
But the second thing is that I was from a girls-only boarding school. And I never knew no boy.
Yes. Like, where would you get a
I
boy?
literally woke up and slept around
Girls.
girls the whole time.
Yeah.
And here's this young man.
Yeah.
There's no nun or sister that is locking the
I wanna
dormitory.
curfew, I wanna-
curfew, you know?
Yeah.
And I would say that was the first thing that tripped me up. But the second thing is the fact that I really had lost touch with myself. But in retrospect, my daughter saved me.
Yeah.
Because outside of everything I would have to be inspired by and work for, that was not there, by the way. My daughter was that. She became that. And for the rest of my adulthood, she became that. She became the person that I base my decisions on. When I say, this is not something I'm going to do, this is not a place I'm going to go, I am Becky's mother. That was her role in my young adulthood. But look, my parents were supportive.
Yeah.
They took care of that girl, and I went on. Look, I gave birth on Tuesday at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
and I went to write commercial law on Thursday. That was me.
Sure.
Yeah. And I
Online
remember,
or personal?
No, personal. And I remember walking into the lecture room
Kas
and
teachy or
people, and I could feel that people are surprised. Did she have the child? Did she lose the child?
Yeah,
Where's the tummy? What's happening?
Yeah.
But that is the kind of person I always have been. And to tell you the truth, it's one of the traits that you'd have to develop as an independent, and as a firstborn daughter.
There's a firstborn.
There's no time to cry.
Yeah.
There's no time. Waitinta, you get up.
Yeah.
I wrote that. I literally looked at my daughter and I said, "Hi, I'm your mother. I love you. Bye."
Wow.
And I went to write my exam. Yeah.
At the beginning of when we were doing the icebreakers, you said
Yeah.
your greatest achievement is your daughter,
Yeah.
right? And you subsequently say that you were depressed.
Yeah.
You were saying that you got her when you were still first year. So I can already just figure out what you were going through.
Yeah.
Why does she remain your greatest achievement where else you were going through that
Yeah.
when you were having her? And the reason why I'm saying this is because there can be chaos, and like chaos and goodness can coexist.
Chaos and calmness.
And
are
calmness.
always
You said it well.
coexisting.
Yeah.
And she was my calm in the chaos. She was my calm in the chaos, but also she made me know myself.
Yeah.
You know, especially because she was such a replica of me. And raising her was such a joy
Yeah.
to also look at the things that I misunderstood about myself and see them in her.
Yeah.
And also knowing that I am someone who can sacrifice.
Yeah.
I'm someone who can work hard for this human being.
Yeah.
And out of all the roles where I was a good person,
Yeah.
I was a good mother.
Years later, you lose her.
I lose her years later. I lose her. I lose her when she's 7 years old. And when all I've done my whole adult life was to be her mother,
Yes.
was to take care of her. And one fateful Saturday, when she was traveling with my mother and my younger sister, I get a call, and a lady on the other side tells me that there has been an accident. And these people that were in this car had been taken to hospital. And so I think I was in Pretoria because we were supposed to meet in Pretoria at my mother's maternal home. And I take my car. In my mind, what's the worst that could have happened?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But also I get a text from my younger sister. And I get a missed call from my mother's phone. So I'm figuring that if these people could still,
They're okay.
they're okay.
Yeah.
I take my aunts and my cousins and we go from Pretoria to Mudimulla Hospital. And when we get to Mudimulla Hospital, I get there, my mother is there.
Yeah.
I think she's sitting on a wheelchair. My sister is on a stretcher. And I say, okay, I can see that both of you's eyes are lit up.
Yeah.
Where's my child? And this doctor, a young woman, says to me, let's go to the other room and let me explain to you what we're going to do with these ones. And I said to her, I understand.
I
My
hear
dad
you.
is on the way. You will talk to him about these
These
two.
two.
Can I see my child? And she still insists. And she says, let's go to the other room. Let's sit down. And we go to the other room. We sit down. And she says, we have brought these two to the hospital.
Yeah.
Your daughter is not here. No.
Usalisha hapo.
At that point, I'm thinking, oh, of course she's not here. You guys probably don't even have a pediatric ward,
Oh my gosh.
right? You took her to
Hopefully, says the mom.
you took her to a different hospital. And I remember as soon as she said she's not here, I grabbed my car keys.
Where is she?
Tell me where she is. Go there. And she says, the smaller one didn't make it. She died on the scene. And I always remember how everything she said after that I don't remember. I could see her mouth move. I could see that she still has body language. I started to feel the chair I'm sitting on disappearing. And I think I passed out. And I also remember after I was awake, I went outside, and the first person I now needed to call was her father. And I remember going outside, and the birds were flying very slowly.
Oh my.
There was a man that was walking with work suits, blue work suits. And he was walking towards me, but he just was never arriving. He was walking very slowly. I remember that day very well.
Yeah. It is slow.
And I had to call this man, who I, by the way, haven't spoken to in about 2 years, because he disappeared into the bank 2 years ago,
Njani?
sorting out an issue with the debit order for the school fees.
That was the last time
That was the
we
last time
heard
we
about
spoke.
him.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I tell him that your daughter is no more. He also thought it was a prank. Yeah. And look, from that day to today,
Yeah.
that grief has hit me sideways.
I'm sure.
10 not.
How many years later?
7 years later.
Is it 7 years later now?
Yeah.
How old was she when
7.
first? You would have
So she
been
would
having a
have-
14
I would have been having a teenager.
Ah, so
Yeah.
cool.
Sometimes I look at
Oh,
what people are going
gosh.
through. I'm like,
Yes. And also, you will be such a small mother. Imagine this small person.
she was also very small.
oh
at
my
7,
gosh.
At 7, she was wearing 5 to 6, 6 to 7.
Yes.
Yeah. She was
So
quite,
you'll
she was
just
quite
be
tiny.
small people.
Yeah, we were two small people. We're two small people
Oh
that
my
looked alike.
gosh.
And she was my world. My world crashed. My world crashed completely when I lost my daughter. Completely.
Yo.
Yeah.
You are married then when you lose your daughter?
No,
You are not married yet.
I am 1 year or so in a relationship with my husband. Right? And he also doesn't know what to do with me.
Yes.
He doesn't know what to do with me.
Sure.
But I can tell you now that I probably would have lost my mind if he wasn't there.
I'm
Don't
sure.
want about.
He was there.
He was there,
Yeah.
and he got a raw deal. He got a raw deal. I mean, we were just a year
Yeah.
into this relationship, and now I am grieving. I am grieving. I'm wearing a gown. I don't want to wake up.
Yeah.
I want nothing
To do with life.
to do with life. Because really, I worked for her.
I was still,
She was my why. You know when
Yeah.
people say, "What's your why?"
Yeah.
She was my why. She was my why to do things and my why not to do things. I remember there was a day my friend and I went to Soweto Towers. We were supposed to go bungee jumping. And I remember telling her, Bianca, I'm a mother.
Yeah.
I never will.
Yes.
I'm not going down this thing.
I can't.
My child has no life cover
Yeah.
for me. I am not going down this thing. So
Yes.
that's even in the dating scene.
Yeah.
I was very cautious with who I let into my space.
Yes.
Because I'm someone's mother. Yeah, that rocked me sideways.
How do you now move on as a career woman? How do you now switch up the gears about your why? Like, how do you now move on to continue working? What are you working for now?
I think it was deep work that I had to do because for the first time in my whole life, I had to see me, not as someone's mother,
Yeah.
but just as me, and recover the ambitions the 18-year-old who fell pregnant had before this child walked into my life. It was a hard journey. It was a very hard journey. I found it hard to identify as myself without being her mother. And look, a year into that, my husband paid lobola, and I think in 3 or 4 months, we got married.
Yeah.
And I think I had I have what we call prolonged grief right now because I don't think I fully processed the grief of my daughter because after that, I'm now in a marriage.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And the hope
Is to have a child.
is that I'll replace her.
Yeah.
Deep down,
Yes.
I'm hoping that I'm going to replace this
And
child.
now in marriage.
And I'm in a marriage, which in retrospect also wasn't fair for my husband or for the child that is to come.
Yes.
Because we call
even
those,
for yourself.
Yeah, we call those replacement
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
Right? So that was what I had hoped would happen. Where fast forward, I'm married, this child will come back.
Yeah.
If it would be great if I have a daughter. And I would just pretend like that one was frozen and then this one has come.
Oh my gosh.
It didn't happen as I planned it.
Yeah.
And I'm still navigating that journey 7 years later.
So you don't have a child now still in your marriage?
No. 7 years later. I think my husband and I would be 6 years married
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we struggled with that. Yeah.
I'm glad that we had the conversation prior because like your story is it's deep, you know. I'm glad that we shed the tears that night we met and everything. So now it's just like I'm able to ask you the questions that I'm supposed to ask you without being so emotional about it.
Yeah.
So now you get married, business-wise, you get into business.
Yeah.
What do you do now in business?
So while I was married, I think for the better part of the marriage, I was heading up this communications that I was talking about. And then I decided to go out to run my firm fully, right? And in my firm, I do incredible things. And I do what my employer and my previous employer are doing, but in a way that I needed to reflect my own calling inside. So I work with corporates.
Yeah.
And most times when they come to me, they come with budgets of their socio-economic spend. This can be skills development spend, where they need to give away bursaries, learnerships, internships, apprenticeships, right?
Yeah.
Or they want to give to NGOs that they have pre-chosen, all of that. So we then, wherever we find you, if we find you at a place where you're saying, look, I've got the money, I've got the budget, I know that this is what I need to do, we then take you through a process of strategically aligning your brand, your core business with whatever it is that, because essentially you are creating a picture that you're going to show up as to your stakeholders, which are your customers, the other people that care about your business. So that's what I do with corporates.
Yeah.
And then I created a wing
Okay.
that works with families and individuals.
Okay.
So there we run what we call donor advised funds. So I'm going to put it in basic
Layman's
English,
term,
right? A donor advised fund is you having a foundation that is named after you, or whatever you want to name it after, that in the public and in any space looks like a foundation, because it is. But at the background, it's an account that you have with us.
Okay.
So many people, this is the problem we are solving. Many people want to do good, right? And because you are a career woman, a businesswoman, and your core business is somewhere else, you have a heart, have a passion, you have a heart, you have a passion, and want to give to the community and to give back, you are likely going to do what? You're going to open an NGO, right? And that NGO will require you to have overhead, someone running it, and eventually it dies. Because that's not your core business.
Okay.
Right? Actually, in the country, we've got about 300,000 registered NGOs.
Lady influencer, didn't you know?
Every influencer that feels like their name is worth doing something, they open an NGO. We're clocking the system. It's unnecessary. 300,000 NGOs that are at DSD. Only 2,000 of them are funded by DSD, by the way, social development. But also only 60,000 of them have a PBO, what we call public benefit, where you should be giving the money. So meaning that the rest of the other ones are just clocking the system. So we have a philanthropy foundation where if you come to me as Promise Makunyane and you say, I want to form Promise Makunyane Foundation and I want to give to a particular cause. through my foundation.
Okay.
I'm not going to open an NGO. I'm going to open an account with you, what we call a donor advised account, right?
Yeah.
So you have an account with our philanthropy foundation. You put that money in that account, right? And then you are the donor that advises where the money must go.
I hear you.
You get it? But at the forefront of it, you have a foundation. So what if I told you that, and I'm not saying this is true, what if I
It's most
told you
probably
that Nomza Mombata
Foundation.
Foundation is not actually a real entity? What if I told you that Sia and Rachel Kolisi's foundation is not a real entity, it's an account that's sitting somewhere with people? Right? And I'm not saying it is.
Which is, okay, before I lose my train of thoughts, which is, let's say, we are just making an example.
Yeah.
Let's say Sia and Rachel, the Kolisi Foundation is not an entity.
Yeah.
Then what is the problem? Because for me, it's almost as if what you are saying, because I don't have like backgrounds or knowledge about NGOs. However, what you're telling me now is that an NGO is a business on its own.
Yes.
Me as Sia Kolisi and Rachel Kolisi, we won't have the time, the
expertise,
or even me just wanting to run an NGO, but I would like to give
back.
1, 2, 3 to this kind of people.
Yeah.
So what is like what I'm trying to ask you is that what is the problem with that? I guess
no problem at all. No problem at all. So when I'm telling you this, I'm trying to help you realize what it looks like in the public. Right? You can have your foundation today. No one will know if it's a registered NGO or not.
Yeah.
Whoever you give money to through our philanthropy foundation, you would be able to give your tax consultant the Section 18A certificate that helps you to pay less tax. Without the rigmarole and the administration of you opening an NGO, that's the first problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
Right? I run foundations on behalf of, and that's where you'll see also in my podcast that I respect people's names.
Yeah.
Because I work with people's deepest, darkest
Secrets,
news, and so when you come and you say, I want to give into this particular cause, we will talk about why.
Yeah.
And this is what actually gave birth to my coaching career and the podcast. We'll talk about why you want to give this particular money to this cause.
Yeah.
And once we are all comfortable that this is a good cause, that you are really comfortable to pass on to the public and to your children, then we run it for you. You go on with your amazing business. You go and make the money. You and your accountant, your tax consultant, gather how much you have to give. Because also, you don't have to be the Mutsepes and the Rockefellers to give. No.
Can
There's
I
so
give
much
you
money.
my 100 rand per month?
You can. But that's giving.
Yeah.
As long as it's strategic. Right?
Yeah.
And what most of us, and look, this service is there. In South Africa, you find it with banks and investment and wealth managers, because they treat it as a by the way, because they already handle your wealth.
Yeah.
The high net worth people, that's how they give.
Hold off.
Yeah.
Now you are giving... I want us to, in 15 minutes, to speak about your podcast.
Yeah.
But now I'm being interested in this whole foundation thing.
Sure.
So I know you're not doing this, but I'm just realizing that people can wash money through these kinds of things. And that's why when I said influencers, there's public people that we know, celebrities, they've got foundations, and you ask yourself, this one a foundation, you ask yourself, is it that, okay, so they will just create a foundation and people, they put money in there and then...
Look, it depends how you see it.
Yeah.
And the ethics behind it. One person can say they're washing money and another person can say it's a strategic giving. Especially
What do you mean strategic giving?
So there are a lot of ways.
For example,
and I'll give you an example.
Yes, please.
There is a group of people that I know of a different skin color who have this thing called alumni groups, where if I have gone to Mulalatadi Primary School,
Yeah.
the my children are going to go there.
Yes.
Right? I'll make sure my children go there. And you
Yes.
and I and my other friends that have gone to Mulalatladi will form part of the boys' club, the alumnus.
Yes.
Right? And we, through our businesses, give to that school because that school is a Section 18A school. And strategically, the beneficiaries of our foundations
Are our kids.
our kids. So they've bypassed the giving money to the school directly because there's no tax benefit there. But that other way, there's a tax benefit.
I hear.
And these are the things, and naming is important for me. You know, when you say washing money, naming is important for me because to me, it's also similar
Okay,
to
maybe not
nepotism.
washing money. Okay, maybe not washing money. I mean,
Yeah.
or daga the tax. Like or uskapa the tax or whatever that is.
Tax. There's a lot to be done in the country. Do it the right way.
Okay.
There is evading tax and avoiding tax.
Okay.
Don't evade tax. It's not worth it.
So I can avoid
Avoid it. You can, strategically. You can avoid tax, do good in the community, build a great legacy for you and your family, and create a good name for yourself. All in one. So that's what we help people do.
Is this rich people things? No. Like I want you to bring it down to us because I'll just
It's
assume
not.
already
Let me
this is
tell
things
you.
for
Let me
rich
tell
people.
you. One lady that walked into my office last week and said, "I am the firstborn in my family. My brother has 2 kids that I know I'm going to have to take care of and school when they are of schooling age. I want to create." So she already has a donor advised fund
Yeah.
in her business name. And she comes and says, "I want to create a donor advised fund, and that one will be named after my mother because she left me with this mess." Right? And I'm going to give in money. She's a middle class woman. I'm going to give money that I know I would need to give in any case to school these children into this account.
Okay.
Right? That's not a Rockefeller, that's not a Motsepe. And you know what the amazing thing about a donor advised fund is? And this can be risky as well.
Yeah.
If we're talking about washing money and whatever, is that you can give that money in this financial year, in this tax year, but you don't have to give it out in the same tax year.
Okay.
And your reasons may be varied. Right? And sometimes you as a family, you and your siblings can come together and say, okay, my children and your children, first are probably going to go to university at the same time. Instead of us struggling to pay fees, can we all come and build a family foundation and contribute into this foundation? And then one by one, we take our kids to school. Because here's a solution for a middle class family. If you go into tertiary education, there is the battle of what we call missing middle.
Missing middle.
These are children of policemen, women in corporate,
Teachers.
teachers, nurses that are not poor enough for the government to fund, but are not rich enough for their mothers to take them through school.
Yeah.
Right? And that missing middle has a pay slip. And their brother and their sister and everyone else has a pay slip. And there is money that you recklessly give to SARS in that pay slip that we help you take it out, put it in that account. And as a family, you guys have a foundation where your children are going to be schooled one by one. So that's like at the basic level. People think, and this thing is big in America. And in our country, it is done by the banks and wealth managers, and they're not doing it for the purposes that I'm talking about. They're doing it because they already have your money, right?
Yes.
And because you are a high net worth person and they've got skills to know this money, if it goes here, it will make us pay less tax. This property has appreciated. If we actually donate this property to here, we won't have capital gains to deal with. We won't have this and that. So they're doing it just as a strategy and a by the way thing in their investment
Already
banking unit.
Yeah.
So we do it as our core business to make sure that giving is as effective as possible, but to help more people that thought that giving is for rich people to start thinking about
Ish.
giving.
Yeah, guys, do you see the people I bring here? Now I'm just like fried here. I'm thinking so much because that's
Yeah.
like value, like what you're sharing.
It
is
is value. And I'll give you another example of two gentlemen that we helped. And this happens a lot. So you are going into business with someone, right? And maybe you guys have bid for a tender and you have a JV, a joint venture, and you get this contract, maybe let's say with a mine or whatever, and part of what you need to demonstrate in that contract is how you're going to do good in that community, right? But it's just you and me. We've joined ventures because of this particular thing. We don't want to be joined together forever.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Instead of us going to open an NGO together because of this project, we're going to take that money and put it in a donor advised fund. And we run the construction project, the mining project that we said we will run. And then when we are ready and have sat down and have made a strategy of how we're going to give back, we give back from there. And nothing ties us. Because another thing about you and I meeting and saying we like each other, we both believe in the cause of young people or black women and empowering them, and then give me your ID, I give you my ID, and we find a third person and we go to DSD and we open an NGO. Is that's a good thing and it's good intentions. But life is gonna go on.
Yeah.
Life will happen. We split, you do your own thing, I do my own thing. But you guys are still core directors of an entity somewhere. Fast forward, you are applying for a job to be a board of directors in one company somewhere. And in that panel, they say to you, promise, your name appears on an organization called Young Women Empowerment, what. You absconded directorship of this thing 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Are you fit
to be a director?
To be a director here? Mara, that thing, hey, it was me and Khanyisa, I don't know, wait. That's number one. Number two is that because having an NGO is such a simple thing and it comes from the heart, we never do the due diligence of it, right? It's always, we've got the same passion. Or you're my sister, you are my friend. Then let's go. Fast forward, and we've seen it with a particular lady who was in the news for criminal activities.
Is it the recent one?
It's ongoing.
Okay.
And this lady was an influencer.
Okay.
Right? And had a friend who was implicated, whose passport was implicated in her illegal dealings.
Yeah.
And that lady came back and said, nah,
I don't know.
And another person, I gave her my passport when we were registering what.
Yeah.
And now you are part of a big scandal that you know nothing about. Because you have intertwined yourself with someone because you guys were
colleagues.
Both passionate about empowering women.
Because they are colleagues, and then it's like we do the same thing, and then our other passion is
that you have your own profession, I have my own profession. We're passionate about women empowerment, and so we give each other. What's about ID? I have access to your ID. I have access to very intimate things of yours, and then jiggy, I'm in the news for some shenanigans, and you are part of it. So stop opening NGOs. One, we're clocking the system. Two, it's more dangerous than you think. And there are ways that people can do that.
I think it's information like this that we need because it's an entire business. Like you're starting another business. Don't just say you are starting another business.
Yes. And you are putting your name on a directorship that you must account for.
Oh my God. I'm so glad that you shared that. In the last 10 minutes, let's speak about your podcast.
Okay.
So after doing all these great things that you do, are you office-based or are you working from home? I mean, like your job, your business.
My business, so because I am employing people, we've got an office.
Okay.
And it's a hybrid model.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a hybrid model. And here's how the
podcast
and the coaching come about.
Yeah.
In my working with black families that are trying to give in an end, one of the things that I then realize is that many people come and say, this thing is my passion, when it really isn't, when it's their trauma point. right? The lady that came to me and said, I want to do this for my younger brother's children. If we go deeper, we'll understand that this is a firstborn daughter that is carrying resentment, that is carrying a lot of trauma, a lot of parentification, and things that they shouldn't be carrying. And that thing is going to filter not just into the foundation, but also into the next generation.
Yeah.
Right? And even, I wish we had time for me to explain to you, when someone comes, there's a gentleman that came in his 40s, and he said, look, I want to create a foundation in my mother's memory. And I want you to give to an oncology ward in a hospital. Obviously, this is because his mother died of cancer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we sat down and said, okay, I hear you. And I know that you want to do this in your mother's memory. But let's look at this. Aren't you perpetuating the trauma of grief here? And the trauma of loss? Because, yes, you want to honor your mother. You said your mother died when you were 17. And you didn't have anything at the time and you couldn't save her. When we give this money to an oncology ward for some woman to be saved, when my team comes back to give you feedback
That we saved.
that we saved a woman,
A mother.
right? What you're doing there is brutalizing your 17-year-old self over and over again. That you were able to save a stranger that you don't know, and you couldn't save your mother. Equally, when we come back and say that woman that went through that treatment didn't make it, that 17-year-old again is being brutalized. You will remember again that you have once again failed to save someone. And we all know that all you're trying to do in this transaction is to save your mother as a 17-year-old. Right? You see how much that is a trauma point. And I asked him and I said, thank God you have this money to give and we can give it and process the whole tax things, but you don't have to give it out right now. We'll name it and pack it. Please go do some work pertaining to your grief. Because what happens is that when we go out into the public with this foundation, you are going to be parading your trauma to your employees, to your children, to society. Let's see if you can parent something else. And let's see if when you've come back and done the grief work, you still want to do this. He went away. 3 weeks from then, he came back with his wife. And his wife had this album. And they said to me, Khanyisa, we have done some work. We saw a grief coach and a grief counselor. And actually, we remember that my mother was a fashionista. She was a lively woman. And you know what we want to do with her money? We want to fund entrepreneurs that are studying towards fashion design. Because that's who she was.
Yeah.
So we moved away from the trauma point to the passion point.
Yes, that's powerful. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so
I had many questions, but you have answered it.
Right?
Yeah.
And I see that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
When you come, even in entrepreneurship, when you talk about, you've just recently started a network marketing business.
Yeah.
Right?
Forever living.
Yes. So even there, if I give you homework and I say, go look at yourself and your team members, and you guys must write down your why. Why you want to do what you do.
Yeah.
And ask yourself 5 whys. By the 4th why, you'll be tripping.
Yeah.
Why do you want to have money?
Yeah.
Okay, why? Why? By the 4th why. And sometimes when I do that as a coach with someone, we stop at the 3rd why. And I say, okay, let's put this why aside. Let's start over. And at the end of that process, we may find 3 whys that are separate. And we may find 3 different traumas there.
Linked to my why.
Linked to your why.
Yeah.
We may find a why that's linked to the trauma of Rakhadia, how that you saw coming out of a marriage with nothing but curtains.
Yeah.
And you don't want that.
Yes.
That's a trauma.
Yeah.
Or you want a why here that wants you to be a boss babe and be seen to be doing well because you were bullied at school. And your mother never affirmed you. And now you want to be CEO of your life so that eventually, if it ever happens, your mother affirms you.
Yeah.
And you prove your aunts and your neighbors wrong, that you're actually worth something. So there are a lot of whys behind what people do. And there's a lot of trauma that sits, generational trauma, ancestral trauma, that sits with us.
Yeah.
And our relationships and our marriages and the things we do.
Yes.
That I then, the birthing of my legacy coaching business came from that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you understand the work that is in there?
There's a lot of work. I promise
Because you are questioning everything about a person.
Yes.
Every single
day.
Me sitting here now, you'll ask me why I'm sitting here.
Yeah.
And you'll find out that I left because me and my husband were shouting and I was like, let me just go to the studio.
Just go. Yeah.
So that's a lot of work.
Yeah. That's a lot of work.
Are you working with therapists and stuff?
Yes. So I work with therapists, coaching, and etc. So here's what, when I say I'm a legacy coach,
Yeah.
here's what it means. We've got money coaches, life coaches, relationship coaches, etc.
Yeah.
My job as a legacy coach is to help you see your life in totality. Right? The life you're living right now, the life, your pre-life,
Yeah.
the life other people have lived before you, and the life you want to see, or the life that people will live after you. So we look at it at a 360 angle. Right? Because the reason why you wear how you wear, how you dress how you dress, is because there are other factors around. The decisions you make financially, mentally, maritally are based on what other people have done before you, and they definitely are going to affect how other people show up after you.
Or what other people didn't do
Or other people didn't
before
do.
me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I help people to, at the very least, stop running around in circles. Because you will go to a marriage therapist because you have a marital problem. When what you truly need, parallel to the therapy of your marriage, is a trauma recovery coach. And your husband needs a money coach. Or a trauma recovery coach that will help him deal with his money traumas. Right?
Yeah.
You may need a family constellation process that helps you resolve unread, unfelt traumas of the people that came before you,
Yeah.
for you to move forward. You may look at a parenting course, a parenting coach, trying to learn how you parent your children when you have a mother wound
Yeah.
that you have not looked at. And there's actually something called a mother wound therapist.
Yeah.
Right? So I may not help you do the work just by myself.
Yeah.
But once we are done with crafting that plan and helping you look at all the other blind spots there are, sometimes you need deliverance.
You mean spiritual?
Yeah. Sometimes you need a spiritual
Hallelujah.
deliverance. Right?
Yes.
And I'm not fit to do that, but I can help you look at what that might mean. You know, there's a thing, I don't know if people know this. There is this thing called, spiritually, called a vagabond spirit. It appears in the Bible for the first time, I think in Genesis, and Cain was a vagabond.
What is a vagabond?
So a vagabond spirit is a spirit that a lot of people may have.
Yeah.
And it comes from a curse, right, of the people that came before you that have done certain things. When we are busy sleeping with other people's husbands and other people's wives,
Is it
there are
like
consequences.
incense or whatever?
No, not even.
Okay.
Not even. There are a lot of reasons why a vagabond spirit can exist, right? But I'm just trying to show you that sometimes you may be dealing with something like that. You don't have direction. You are, when every year you are doing life goals and vision boards, but you don't, nothing just seems to work. You are in a marriage and you just don't feel settled there.
You know, it's funny that you say, sorry to cut you. It's funny that you bring the spiritual side now. I thought I was going to feel weird telling you over the phone after we met on Saturday.
Yeah.
And then I went home. I spoke to my husband that I met Khanyisa, and then this, you know, telling him about everything. And he was like, did she ever do cleansing? You know? And I was like, I don't know, that's weird. I was like, I don't know. He was like, no, maybe tell her to pray about finding a person that will cleanse her.
Yeah.
So now that you say that, now I'm seeing it. Well,
Yeah.
that was I was like, that's gonna be very weird. She's just going to like,
Say, hey,
yeah. So he was like, no, let her
see-
pray about someone
you
that is
see-
going to cleanse her.
That is part of a process that one may need.
Yeah.
When you are chasing a life coach, when you really just need cleansing, when you need, to speak to your mother about things that are hidden, that will help you go forward. So that's what I do. And that's what birthed the Legacy Collective as a podcast. And I mean, I call it a podcast for a lack of a better word because this is how it shows up, right? But it's really what I would like it to be. It's a platform where people are able to learn, find themselves, mirror themselves, and find help. I always say that I want that platform to not be a place where people just talk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is where we're going to be bringing conversations that are probably going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
For me as well. There are episodes that I'm meant to shoot and I'm just like, I can't get this one. This one I can't do it. But I have to do it.
Yeah.
So there we speak about how we show up as human beings from a legacy perspective as a collective. Personal legacy, relational legacy, social legacy, professional legacy. So the personal legacy is how you show up, your traumas that we were talking about, the spirituality, etc. And then relational is how you show up relationally with your husband, your mother, and so forth. Social is how you show up in the world. You forming this platform is your social legacy.
Yeah.
When people talk about you in public, whatever they say about you, and however you've made people think, say, feel, and so on, make decisions, is your social legacy. And then there's the professional legacy. How you show up in the workplace, how you show up in your business, etc., etc. So in that podcast, we are saying, let's look at legacy as a collective concept. Because you can be a great person professionally, and the things that are unhealed in your personal life come and trip over everything.
Yeah.
And you start over.
Yeah.
How you relate to other people, powers or defiles, how far you will go professionally. And so the particular season we are shooting now is called the Healing and Discovery season. And we are saying, what is it in your today that you're trying to build and be successful in, that you find being defiled by your yesterday, your childhood? How are you relating to your husband that is filled with how you saw your mother relate with your father? And what disposition do you have in your heart and in your mind about marriage? Right? When you are trying to chase that money that you're talking about when you're doing forever living, what is the money trauma saying about that? Do you really believe you're going to be rich?
That's powerful. Now I'm going to cut you a lot of times because I'm afraid to lose my train of thought. So one of the facilitators of the Vision Board retreat is going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Your subconscious.
Yes.
Because you can manifest, you can work hard in your conscious. You can say, I want to be rich. But your subconscious, it's what you are going to get. And people ask themselves, why am I working hard but still not getting money? It's because your subconscious is saying something else. Yeah.
Your subconscious is still screaming. I was saying to a friend of mine,
men are trash.
It's screaming men are trash, but you want to get married.
Yeah.
Right? And you want to be this boss babe that wants to go to IDC and look for 15 million for your business.
Yeah.
Ne?
Yeah.
But your mother's voice that says, I promise, I want to something, is still playing in your mind. Are you really showing up at IDC and asking for 50 million? No. The proposal may be amazing.
Yes.
It's going to be amazing.
And you will be
but
present
you won't get that
there.
money.
Yes.
When you price your product and you tell someone that this is 1,000, why you want 1,000 more?
No.
You don't. And money is energy. People will feel your energy.
Girl. Hi, you know what? Yes.
That's what we're trying to navigate.
Yeah.
Even in the workplace, as a boss, as an employee, how do you show up? Who are you really insulting? When you are resistant from that boss of yours because he's a man, what you really need to be doing is to go punch your own father. Because this guy didn't do anything to you, but he's a representation of something that has hurt you, that has traumatized you.
I told you on Sunday that one of the things that my therapist said when he was like, I'm going to work on you guys, we're going to work on your marriage. And I was like, I'm scared that I feel that I am okay with letting the marriage go. And I feel like if now I try and it fails, I would have betrayed myself.
Yourself.
And one of the things that he said is that it is still your defense mechanism, still your trauma of how you're responding to the situation.
Because your body's job is to protect you
Yeah.
from anything
Yeah.
and everything.
So your subconscious still says this won't work.
This won't work.
This won't work.
And even if I say, yes, I'll go to marriage counseling, I'll work on this,
Yeah.
but I'll have an offshore account. I'll have an account he knows nothing about.
I'll be working like the boss's babe.
I will be a
on
boss
earth.
babe. Yeah, sure, we'll work it out. Marana, every day I'll wake up in the morning and make sure I have money of my own. When you started, you said it's good for women to be taken care of by their husbands, but it's good for us to work for ourselves. If we went through a why process of why we want to work for ourselves,
It's
we will
obviously
find
it's protecting ourselves.
a lot of defense.
It's mostly protecting ourselves.
Yeah.
But if also we'll sit down and really dissect self and what individuals in marriage should do is to be their highest self.
Your higher self. And you can't be your higher self when all you've ever known is your shadow self.
Yeah. Ooh.
And your shadow self is always showing up. And I always say that healing comes at the frequency of truth. If you want to
Healing
know,
comes at the frequency
of truth.
of truth.
If you want to know how demonic you are and how selfish you are, get married.
Yes.
You will see that you are a small demon walking around.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But what will it take for you to look at yourself and say, yeah, toxic?
Oh,
It's truth.
Yo.
Ke o ikapula.
Yes, true.
And I always say, when we were coming here, I was thinking, Hore, what is a word that I live by?
Yes.
Right? And I thought to myself, fortune favors the brave.
Fortune favors the brave.
And you will think about it in an economic manner.
Yes.
Right? But when I think about fortune favors the brave, right? I say the bravery of looking yourself in the mirror and say, actually,
Yeah.
I'm a little piece of something.
Yeah.
That bravery will take you to the fortune of having a healthy marriage.
Yes. I concur with that.
When you've got the bravery
Yeah.
to go and ask your mother a difficult question that may or may not end well.
Oh, obvious.
The fortune
Wantela
of you knowing the truth is what you will walk away from that situation with. So that is my wish really for people that will be part of the Legacy Collective as a community and go to the Legacy Collective as a platform. That we just become brave and face ourselves,
Live our truth.
live our truth, and also just have grace for other people and for ourselves.
For ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Gail, where can the people get you?
Okay.
The podcast. Let's start with
Yeah.
where they can find the podcast.
The podcast. So the podcast is on YouTube and Spotify.
Okay.
It's The Legacy Collective with Khanyisa. And that's where they can find it. On
We'll
YouTube.
put it here, guys.
Yeah, YouTube and Spotify, that's where we are.
Yeah.
And I have been inundated with requests for the coaching work.
Yeah.
And I'll also just share a link of, and sometimes you don't even know what coaching you are looking for. And I'm always open to have people have a conversation with me. And that's my job, to help you pinpoint the things that could need work.
Yeah.
You may think that you need this kind of coaching and that kind of healing, and we may figure that maybe this and that could also be something to work with. So yeah, the Legacy Collective is on those two platforms at the moment. Yeah.
Your personal branding, do you like your personal pages?
Yeah. So
Can they
on
follow you?
Instagram, the Legacy Collective _Khanyisa is the page of the community, and Khanyisa Malamule is my personal page. On Facebook, I'm also Khanyisa Flow Malamule. There, on TikTok, I think it's Khanyisa Legacy Collective. Yeah, so people will be able to find me on those platforms.
Do you think you have capacity for all this that you're doing?
Ngani igolento.
Yeah.
And God's footsteps will be what lights my way and guides me.
Powerful.
I wake up every morning and think, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What is this?
Yes.
But I know
Yeah.
that I am guided and I am guarded. Yeah.
Can people be guests if they want to be guests, or you choose your own guest on your podcast?
Look, people can be guests.
Okay.
One of the most important things about being a guest on the Legacy Collective is you having had done some sort of work.
You having had
Done some work.
Okay.
You don't have to be a therapist. Just self-aware
Okay.
of who you are. And when you come, I want us to have a conversation of, this is where I've been. This is where I am. This is my contribution to the problem.
Yeah.
This is the help I think I have gotten, etc. Right? So, like I said before, I think we'll be led.
Yeah.
We'll be led. Because it's a new platform,
Yes.
I'm also just listening in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
because
just testing the
between you
waters
and me,
as
I
well.
didn't want to do this.
I'm sure.
I did this
I'm
kicking
sure.
and crying. I didn't want to do it. If I had it my way,
Yeah.
I would just drive my nice car,
Yeah.
stay in my nice estate,
Nice house.
hey, go to Dubai,
Yeah.
and forget about all of you.
Yes, true.
But it's a calling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thank God for the bravery.
Yes. Guys, in closing, I wanted to tell people how we met.
Yeah.
Where did we meet for the first time? We are closing now.
I don't remember when we met for the first time, but I know that we met twice at different places and we never spoke.
Yeah.
The one that I remember more is at Fuzulab in
Where
Woodmead.
we got our veneers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you had come with your helper.
My nanny, I went. Guys, that's another story, my nanny story. Yes.
And I think I was there for a consultation.
Yeah.
So that's the one time I remember us being in the same space,
Yes.
but didn't really talk.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, we meet at Haiti the Entrepreneurs year-end function.
This is the one that I want to talk about.
Sure.
And this is what I want to leave you guys with.
Yeah.
Prior to you seeing me at Fusi's lab,
Yeah.
you were following me on social media.
Yeah.
So you just know me on social
Yes.
media.
Yes.
Then from there, we met at Fusi. At Fusi, I remember you were complaining a lot. You were just going up and down complaining a lot. Or were you
Yeah,
the one
because-
that came?
No, there
Okay.
was some other lady that was complaining a lot.
Oh, okay.
I remember that lady.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, sorry to cut you. I want to go to why it is important for people at events, which is one of the things at my retreat that I want people to get out,
Yeah.
is the bravery to speak to people,
Yeah.
to open yourself, say hello to people, because
Yeah.
you were following me around. I feel like you were following me around, you know. And I thought I knew you. The crazy thing is that
Yeah.
I thought I knew you, you know.
Yeah.
And when we were just bumping into each other, let me say, I bumped into you there, you spoke to me. We bumped there, you spoke to me again. Until we
Yeah.
bumped into each other, we spoke, and we spent the night together.
Yeah. That sounds wrong.
Oh, no.
That sounds very wrong.
No, we are wives. We are wives. I mean, we just had drinks
We
until
left
like
the
12
venue-
a.m.
We left the venue at 12 a.m.
Yes.
After multiple therapy sessions.
And crying and eating and drinking and you know?
Yeah.
And just for us bumping into each other, thinking that we know each other, and you actually coming to where we were and just
Yeah.
getting there and speaking. And I'm like, I prayed about what you were talking about. You remember?
Yes.
And it was just great, you know? And
Yeah.
from there,
And even I, from my side, when I
Yeah.
spoke to you, question why I never spoke to you all the other times I've met you. When I started to walk into my calling fully, there is a sense of bravery that one gets to have that I'm not talking to you
Yeah.
as promised that I know from somewhere. I knew that there was something between your soul and mine that needed to connect there. And my pride had to disappear. Did I wonder how you're going to react to me if I speak to you? Because probably other people are trying to speak to you.
Yeah.
Nah, I didn't care.
Yeah.
In that moment, I didn't care because I knew that this is beyond you and me.
It's Benny.
As women in Johannesburg
Yeah.
who may class each other and all of these things.
yeah.
I knew it was beyond that.
Yeah.
And you said, you actually cried.
Yes.
And you said, you had asked God. Say how you said it.
So I said I'd pray to God to say that surprise me the following day. And whatever that happens, let me know.
That
let
this
me,
is it.
That is it.
Yeah.
In our conversation, I told you that this is it.
Yeah. So it was in the stars.
Sure.
Yeah. And believe me, it probably had very little to do with me and you.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Anyway, guys, this is Khanyisa Malamulele.
Malamule.
Malamule.
Yes. I think if I collected 100,000 every time someone said Malamulele
I'm sure.
instead of Malamule, rich.
Yes. Anyway, guys, we have run out of time, but I think we have covered everything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this lady, you're going to follow her. Let this whole community now go to the Legacy
Collective.
Collective.
The Legacy
but
Collective with Khanyisa.
With Khanyisa. We're going to link it here. I'm also going to pin the link in the comments. The first comment is going to be a link to her channel.
Thank you.
So please, let's go there. Come there. Let's watch. Let's subscribe more than anything, because these things, they cost a lot, my friend.
They do.
They cost a lot. So please do subscribe. Share her work, and do you want to say something? Do you want to remind me to say something? You can. Oh, okay.
Awesome.
There is a PA at the back who's saying, so please do your due diligence. Let's subscribe. Anyway, Khanyisa, thank you so much. I will see you
at the retreat.
At the retreat.
Yes. At the what do we call
Vision
it?
Board retreat.
At the Vision Board retreat.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so
and
much.
Godspeed.
Godspeed to you too. And you've got a lot of work, girl. All the
I
best.
do. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And please do subscribe. We're still hitting 100K this year again. Please do subscribe, guys. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.